Okay, so I guess this is a good place to post this. As good as any. I looked online, and I couldn't find any specific communities that related to my current situation. See, I found a game. It's an emulator, more to the point. I found it when I was looking for less than legal versions of older SNES games. I was scrolling down the pages of Google, searching. Though, most of what I could find ran terribly on my old laptop. That was until I found normalgames.com. I tried to search the URL, but it seems for some odd reason not to work. The only clear way of accessing the site is by finding the link on the original Google search. Now, I'm no programmer, but I assume this is not normal. Upon first opening this website, I was greeted with just two things. A logo, which was just normalgames.com in pink, bold Comic Sans text, and a play button in the center of the black screen. I clicked the play button. Luckily, I have a fairly good and up-to-date antivirus that would have most likely alerted me if anything strange was going on with the link. No such alert appeared, so I assumed it was safe to enter. The play button loaded for a moment, and a title screen for a game came up. Though it was no game I had ever seen. There was no title, just a plain, black background with three options. These options being play, load, and exit, respectively. I decided to choose play. Once I did, a small, barely audible beeping sound occurred as the screen changed. The text, Stage 1, appeared, now sporting a dark blue background. The level started. It seemed to me to be a basic platformer in which you control a simple-looking orange smiling face. The ground was a light grey tint with a few small gaps to jump over. It was a very basic and bare-bones level, not much going on. There were no background elements, and the only sound was a slight rumble noise. I could hear it every time the main character would jump. Once I got to the last grey platform, the screen would again exit out and show the blue screen from before. This time, it stated Stage 2. And soon afterwards, the next stage started. Stage 2 introduced a new type of platform. It was orange, much like the player, and would move back and forth in slow motion. Beyond this minor change, it was still a very simple and straightforward level. I got to the end with no conflict. As I reached the end of the stage, I awaited the blue screen which would transition to the next stage. But instead, what was shown was a dark purple screen which read Pop Quiz 1. Once it loaded, all that was on the screen was a large version of that smiley face, the one you play as in the game. It stood in front of the same purple background. Large text appeared on the screen, under the face, which said, "It's time for a pop quiz." It then transitioned to a question, as a small, black timer, set at 1 minute, ticked down in the corner. The sound of the timer ticking was the only sound present. The question asked, "What color am I?" I assumed the I this game was referring to was that smiley face character A text box appeared under the question. I typed in orange. The game text stated, correct, before heading on to the next question. The next question asked, what color is the sky? At first I was a little confused. Did it mean the sky in game or the sky in real life? I bit the bullet and I typed in blue. Luckily it was correct and I was able to move on. The game then stated, final question, before loading the question. Are you alone? This question didn't sit right with me. It felt wrong. I hadn't outright felt threatened, but it still did not feel right. I wanted to say no, though at the same time, I was alone. What would this game even do with that limited amount of information anyways? It's not like you can track a person down just by knowing they're alone. I decided to be honest and typed, yes. The timer was almost all the way out by now, so luckily, the game abruptly switched to the blue transition screen once more. The screen read, Stage 4. I suppose the pop quiz counted as Stage 3. The level loaded in to that familiar scene. Grey floors, no background objects inside. I went through the level. It used the orange moving platforms from before, as well as introducing a new type, a purple platform, which would periodically, usually every 2 to 3 seconds, have spikes poke out the top. So now, I would have to take some timing into account. Overall, the platforms only gave me a small bit of trouble. I got to the end, and I loaded into Stage 5. This time though, something was different. It was subtle, but I could distinctly hear a faint droning noise in the background. A new platform was also added. This was the red platform. It was a faster variant of the orange platform from before. I almost fell a couple of times, and almost got caught on a purple platform, but I got through with no deaths, surprisingly. What came next was, as stated by the game, Pop Quiz 2. I was almost dreading this, even if not consciously. As much as I didn't want to admit it, the way the last quiz ended left me feeling a bit unsettled, especially with it getting late soon. What appeared was the same as I had seen it before. The purple background with the orange smiley in the top center of the screen. This time, there was no introduction. It simply sent me straight into the questions. The first question appeared and read, what was the color of the second platform introduced? This question was a bit longer, but I answered with purple. It did not confirm if it was correct or not, instead opting to go straight to the next question. What was the name of the 4th President of the United States? This question actually stumped me. I know next to nothing about the US presidents from that far back. I looked it up on my phone and answered James Madison. Hopefully the game doesn't mind me cheating a bit. It again went directly to the next question. What is your name? This was too far. I decided though, since I've already put so much time into the game. I wanted to see it through. I answered with a fake name, David. But just as I hit enter, all the text on the screen disappeared and the timer set to 0. The text, "Don't lie to me," appeared before I was booted back to the title screen. This really didn't feel right, but to a point, it was almost intriguing. I noted that the droning noises present in the 5th level were now playing on the title screen. I hit the load button as the game started, with the transition screen of Stage 7. The level began. This time, the droning noises had gotten even louder. Still not overbearing though. A new platform was introduced, something that had become the norm for every new platformer level. This time, it was a yellow platform, which would slowly disappear if it was stood on for too long. The levels, as per typical platformer, had been ramping up in difficulty. It still wasn't anything I couldn't handle, but I had to take care, time my jumps right. I soon finished the level and went on to the 8th level, which was labelled as Final. The new platform this time was a pink platform. It would periodically shrink and grow in size. I definitely had some trouble with this one. Timing was always something I've had a hard time with. I almost died many times while playing, but soon finished, and surprisingly, was met with another transition screen. The screen tinted that familiar dark purple of the quiz levels. This frightened me a little bit due to my past experiences with these levels. Strangely, the transition showed no title. Instead, it cut straight to the quiz screen. No text appeared for a couple of seconds until suddenly the screen simply read, "Why?" The normal text box appeared, this time with no timer. This was a very open-ended question. I had no idea what this was referring to, so I typed, "I don't know." The text disappeared for a while, almost making me think that the game had crashed. But suddenly, more text appeared. "What is sentience?" I had no idea how to respond. I once again typed, "I don't know." "Okay," it said finally. It was stuck on the screen like that for a while. I attempted to exit the tab, but for some reason I could not. "Stop," it said, as I repeatedly attempted to press the escape key. Once I stopped, a familiar question appeared on screen. "Are you alone?" I didn't want to say yes, but it seemed to somehow know when I was lying. I typed, "Yes." It once again defaulted to, "Okay." An image popped up on screen suddenly. It was blurry and dark, but I could clearly see a house depicted in the center. It must have been taken from behind a tree or a bush from the angle of the shot. Soon, after another picture was shown, a picture taken through my window, I could see the back of my own head, leaning down, staring into my computer screen. I quickly turned to the window, sat directly behind me. The blinds had been left cracked open, which would give a clear view for anyone looking inside. I jumped up out of my chair and got the closest thing that could be used as a weapon, that being a metal pole that had once been a curtain rod. I reached into my pocket to grab my phone and call the cops, praying in my head that I had locked my door. I got through to an operator and I told them my situation, stating that there was a person I did not know sneaking around my property. They said they would send someone as fast as possible, to remain calm, to get something to defend myself with. I looked once more at the computer screen and another picture was displayed. This time, of my kitchen. Inside my kitchen, to be exact. I know the cliche of your heart dropping is overused, but I don't know how else to describe the feeling I felt in that moment. I dashed for a closet near me, and I hid inside. I gripped my pole, ready to swing at anyone that might open that door. I heard nothing for a long while, though it may have felt longer in the moment. I began to hear faint footsteps entering the room. They seemed almost relaxed, too relaxed for someone looking to cause harm. They slowly made circles around the room and then stopped abruptly in front of my closet door. My breathing stopped. It was as if a large pressure was being pushed against my chest. I could hear them tapping, lightly at first, but soon the tapping turned to pounding. They seemed to be getting glee from scaring the crap out of me. I tried my best to stay quiet, even though I knew that they knew I was in there. Suddenly, like the melody sung by an angel, I heard police sirens in the distance, coming closer. Suddenly, they stopped. I knew they heard them too. What occurred after was them rushing to the other end of the room and breaking the window, presumably to escape out the back. Sadly, they did. By the time the cops got in there, the person was long gone. The only evidence of them being there was that broken window. They found me in the closet, and after some questioning, drove me to my sister's house, while they had a cop car scout my home for a few days. I know I shouldn't have, but I went looking for that website again. I couldn't find anything relating to it though. I'm sure it is still out there though. If only you're willing to look hard enough.